Oh, hey there, everybody. What's going on Final Fantasy VI Worlds Collide Land? My name is TheSchwanz27, and today we have a special showcase for you. One of our weekly async races called the Living Seed. Three of our runners decided, hey, right after the seed got rolled this morning, let's go ahead and try and give it a whirl and see what we're up to. So what exactly is the Living Seed and what can we expect? So, the Living Seed basically is each week, one runner gets to alter two different flags or set of objectives. And as you see now, we're in week 7 of this particular season, so we've altered a lot of different settings here. This is a bit of an eye chart for you, and the ones in green are the differences between the previous week and this week. So if you play it on each async week, the staggering difference is a lot less often than what you would had you been there from or just jumped right in here. There's a bunch of different settings that I'm going to point out as we're sort of going along here, but some of the most important ones. There are monster in a boxes in chests, and up to, where is it here on this screen? 25% of them are bosses. So the monster in a box chance is 17. The chests are 72% random, so that's about 3/4 of the way down the screen here. Loot is also shuffled and 100% random as well. The shops are barter shops, 2,500 for any particular item and 30,000 starting gold with 5 Phoenix Downs. The boss situation is that you have to kill between 12 and 16 of them in order to unlock Final Kefka. They can sometimes be in the fixed and random battles, and they are mixed instead of, they're random instead of mixed. So we could have duplicate bosses show up. We could also have unscaled dragons show up at boss spots because they are mixed in with the boss pool as well. So things are about to get just a little wild and crazy here. I am doing the tracking as well as the restreaming, so we're going to try and help to get going here in just a few seconds. Some of the other things that we can talk about as far as settings go here, I'm going to leave the settings in the corner for us there. We need to get to 7 characters, 9 espers, and 16 bosses, according to this little handy-dandy thing here. We are going to start with Realm and Umaro, and then 2 other random characters. Strago has Blitz, and we do get to unlock it right from the start here. And we also have Shadow with Shock and GP Rain Sabin to come along with us here. So we've got some interesting choices as far as where we can go in this seed already with those things. We've got Shock with Shadow, and we also start with 2 espers, it looks like, on the seed. We do start with a random either 1 or 2 espers. The enemies will be scaled based on the number of checks that you've done, times 2.5, but the HP, MP, and experience is 1.5 times the party highest level up into level 53 as the maximum level. So our bosses are going to be thick. They're going to be chunky. It's going to take a while to beat them, as well as our enemies here, so maybe more than 1 shock is going to be necessary. Barter shops also, as I mentioned, the relics. Not everybody can equip every relic, so we'll probably see that come into play a little bit later on here, as we do have Yeti with Rage Ring, and oh boy, Papa Shango got his hand caught in the jar, and this is some tentacles, which is disgusting to see very early on. Thankfully, they're at pretty low level. However, this is going to be real unfortunate here, as we do only have the Magitech and the Shock to help us out here. So we'll see if Papa Shango gets through this before he has to reset. Pearl Lance purchased there from Nani Gray. Unfortunately, like I mentioned, the relics can only be equipped by 10 of the 14 characters, so you'll have to see who can actually use those after all. Unfortunately, that is going to be a reset for Papa Shango. If we do find a new character, they're going to start at level 3, and they start naked, as we see over there on Nani Gray's screen. We can learn Bum Rush whenever we'd like, and if we find Strago, we know we have a Blitz character. If we find Gao, he's going to have Rage, and we do have access to Shock, as I mentioned, but no Throw or Control. If you want to go learn all of the lores, you have to go beat the Kefka at Narsh check. So that's an interesting thing to want to do there. Nani Gray, unfortunately, is going to get his tentacle fight here, and we'll see if this goes any better than Papa Shango's did. So this is one of the interesting things about those chests. They are really, really high at 72%, but if you can't beat a potential boss inside of a chest, then we're going to run into problems. The good news is, if we do defeat one of these bosses, it counts towards our boss count. We do need to get to 16 unique bosses in order to unlock Final Kefka in this seed. Some other interesting things. Vanish Doom bug is not, or rather, Vanish Doom is applicable in this seed. Normally, we turn that off as part of our normal processing because Vanish Doom is pretty broken and any boss that can be vanished can be instantly killed. But if our runners come across the Vanish spell and the Doom spell, you could do that basically on lots of different bosses and kill them almost instantaneously. And Nani Gray gets through that Tentacles fight, so that's going to be a lot of XP for his team there, as well as going to get some interesting shuffled rewards there. And smartly decides, I'm not going to pull any chests here. I'm going to go ahead and save first before I go dig into more monster in a boxes. This is a great idea. Papa Shango here looking at the Yeti reward, and it looks like that is not going to be a character there at the Yeti spot. So some good piece of 411 for us here in the booth. We do need to get to 7 characters still, and with bosses being required for Kefka unlock, it tends to favor checks that have bosses that you could fight. So we'll see if that's applicable here. We also do get a Sprint Shoes reward for doing one of 3 quests. So I didn't see which of the quests they were, but Nobody War is going to do either the Save or Kill Sid quest here. And what this will do is it will reward him with a pair of sprint shoes. And with that pair of sprint shoes, he could dash all over the place and go twice as fast. So putting in maybe like 1 or 2 minutes here at the very beginning of the seed to get those sprint shoes will allow you to make up some time on the back end. And Nani Gray in the Returner's Hideout gets another monster in a box. Thankfully, this time it's not a boss. So this should hopefully go down without much of a fuss. Remember, our enemies are scaled based on the number of checks we've done, and we haven't done any checks yet, but the number of the HP and MP is based on your party's highest level times 1.5. We did also have some fun sprites that are shuffled around here. Umaro is a bird. So we got some bird talking to bird action from Nobody War here, and it looks like I think the Kill Sid is what the objective is here for our sprint shoes. Interestingly enough. Yep. So Nobody War just going to be flocking with some birds of a feather, I guess. Nani Gray and Papa Shango both going to hit up the Returner's Hideout. Oh, there's a Mega Elixir and some dried meat. Never know when we're going to run into Gao. So usually with barter seeds, we actually had a question about this in the beginners chat. So if you want to join our Discord where we could talk strategy about how to approach different seeds like this in the game, I usually will ignore most items in the item shop other than remedies, Phoenix Downs, and Warp Stones. And in this case, we do have Warp at 0 MP, so we don't actually need to go buy any Warp Stones there. Mega Elixirs and X Potions are nice, but oh boy, that is a cat trot monster kill there on Papa Shango. I hope he saved recently. Other than that, it looks like, thankfully, he did save. So he's got to watch out. That cock trot is not going to play. And there are the Sprint Shoes Relic objective has been achieved. Unfortunately, it looks like only Realm can wear the Sprint Shoes and Shadow. And those are people that we want wearing the earrings and not really the Sprint Shoes because of the Magitech beams. And wow, Hide and the Hide Knights is one of the random encounters here. Thank goodness, though, we do have the Undead Property of Bosses set off. So this is going to go ahead and kill hiding in the Hide Knights right away. Huge heads-up game knowledge there from Nani Gray, as you can see there. Is it on this sheet? It's probably on this sheet somewhere. Like I said, there's a lot of different settings that were altered in this particular one. I gave you the big highlights here as far as the ones that I tend to look out for. So there is a Doom guy holding up the shack for Nobody War at the collapsing house, so that means that this is going to be an esper and item. There is a girl sprite, I believe, over here for Nani Gray, so that is going to be also a an esper item reward. One of the cool things about Worlds Collide is you can get some of these weird, crazy custom sprites and palettes and things like that, and you have to look at the seed settings to know exactly what you're getting yourself into here. Unfortunately for Nani Gray, he's going to have to use up some more of his Phoenix Downs here on these Imperial Camp grind fights against Aloe Veres. Normally they drop a Tiger Fangs, which is a pretty nice thing to sell. This time, however, they drop Snow Mufflers, which is even better. Wow, incredible. Nobody War is just zooming through the collapsing house here. The original game timers have been set, so we got to make it through that collapsing house pretty fast. This also devalues the monster in a boxes when you have the drops being randomized and shuffled. So that's why you see Nobody War not taking any of the monster in a boxes in the collapsing house, because the stuff you're normally looking for, like the Minervas from Pugs, or maybe the offering from Gigantos, is just not going to be there. That is Bismarck, the Esper there for Nobody War, so that is another check done for him. Unfortunately, no bosses yet for Nobody War, and like I mentioned, we do need to get to 16 of them in order to unlock Kafka. Ultima at a ×8 right there. That is a nice looking Esper. Ultima is available, but it is 254 MP. And we'll see if Papa Shango gets caught in the same monster in a box that Nani Gray did. Here is Hiding in the Hide Knights as the monster in a box. So let's see if Papa Shango read his flags properly and knows that he can just undead this boss. And it looks like he's actually going to use this fire rod, which is a bit unfortunate. Bismarck has Doom on it. I believe that is the one from Collapsing House. So we have one part of our Vanished Doom dream pairing here. Nobody War heading over to Miranda. There are 2 treasure chests here, and there is a weapon shop and an armor shop. So usually with barter seeds, runners are going to try and look for some good pieces of armor or perhaps some good pieces of weaponry in order to make their party that much more powerful. There are Atma weapons. How you doing? Unfortunately, nobody in his party can use them right now. We do get Cyan at the free check there for Nani Gray at Gao Manor. So that's our 5th character here. Did not see what ability Cyan had. But considering that it's either Yeti or Cyan, it looks like we are going to put Cyan into the party here. Unfortunately, he does start off at level 3, and you see his party members are already level 24. That is that XP scaling ×6, which is twice as much as it usually is. So twice as much experience as usual. The problem is that means those bosses are going to get thicker way faster. Ooh, Nobody War's got a merit award there. So that's something to keep in your back pocket handy, as we're going to buy a couple of force shields, a really nice piece of protective gear there. And we are at Owzer's Mansion, or rather World of Ruin Jador, so will we see an Owzer's Mansion play incoming? Looks like that's where he's going now. FF6WorldsCollide.com is the website where you could roll some of these seeds. Or if you want to roll or play this particular seed or join us for a future rendition of the Living Seed, you can join our Discord. We have lots of different asynchronous races that, you know, experience the wild and wackier side of Worlds Collide if you're interested in stretching the game to its limits here. Alright, so Cyan at level 3 is going to be going along for the ride here at Barren Falls. So we'll see that Cyan won't be able to do much in this fight. However, he will gain a lot of XP just by the fortune of him being here. However, he's got to stay alive. And let's see. It is Atma Weapon. So again, our bosses are scaled based on our progression. Or rather, based on the number of checks we've done times 2.5. So right now, this Atma Weapon is only level 5. However, its HP and MP are actually level 36 because it's 2.5 times the highest party member of Nani Gray's party. And Nani Gray's party is right now at level like 24 or so. So this is not really any danger. It's just going to take a while. Alright, Nobody War here at Owzer's Mansion sees another Doom guy painting. So this will not be a character here at Owzer. And unfortunately, it's a repeat boss fight. Hiding in the Hide Knights, although I don't know if it's a repeat boss for him. So I don't remember which boss he has fought. I'm sorry, he has not fought any bosses yet. So this will be Nobody War's first boss, but if he decides to peek in that monster in a box chest that our other runners have gotten to, that second hide and fight will not count rather as a boss because it's unique boss count, not just overall boss count. Looks like Papa Shango is doing the Kill Sid quest here in order to get himself the sprint shoes. So in order to do the Kill Sid quest, you need to feed Sid the slow fish. And if you don't find the fish that you want, you go and talk to Sid, and that will reset the room. Nani Gray did beat a boss and is getting Celeste as well. So that's character number 6 for Nani Gray. And we'll see what Celeste has on them. Remember, you join at level 3, not at your average, like you would do in other seeds. So, a Sword Tech Celeste is a pretty good character, though. Especially having access to Cyan. Because that means we can go ahead and get... we can go get that Sword Tech upgrade. If we wanted to get the Magitech upgrade, we would need to go and find 4 dragons to kill. Papa Shango showing off YMPC set to creature. Turns that bird into a dog. It's got to be kind of a bummer in order to go from a flying thing to a not-so-flying thing. Nobody War does take down Hiding in the Hide Knights, so that's boss number 1. That's check number 2. And is this Esper number 4? No, it's another Atma weapon that nobody can use. Ooh, that feels bad. You see here the pain point of the relics only being able to be worn by certain characters. It looks like we got some red jackets for sale. Nice elemental protection there for Nani Gray. They will not be able to be harmed by any of the fire spells, so that's really good for them. So that's Nani Gray's 3rd check. I mismarked on the tracker there. And we'll see Papa Shango now. They are going to be doing the Collapsing House, so they'll get their Esper here at the end of this. It looks like Nobody War, meanwhile, is... Oh, that's an Illumina in a chest! So we did see Nobody War come into the Collapsing House, but they did not loot. So unfortunately, leaving that Illumina behind, Realm can use it. So we're going to get either a sword-swinging Realm or just have the magic power boosted on that Magitech ability. Nobody War going to go ahead and save here. So the dragon spots might not be a dragon. It might be a boss instead of a dragon. However, it still will drop that high-tier item because it is considered a check. Looks like we're doing Esper Mountain here for Nani Gray, and we got more Grabby Pasta. Oh, Nobody War unfortunately getting Doom Gaze. Thankfully, he is not a multiple of 5. Otherwise, that could have been a disaster. Now, I think Papa Shango beat Haydn and not the tentacles, but here is a really nice heads-up play, using Phantom in order to vanish his party from the grasp of the tentacles. So this will work as long as the tentacles don't do any poison spells or anything like that. But the seize is really just a physical attack. So good heads up from Papa Shango there, knowing that Phantom can basically make this fight free with the tentacles. Meanwhile, Nani Gray going up against number 24, and thankfully Realm gets out of that muddle status before any real damage could be inflicted. Excellent little instant death proc there from Papa Shango, taking out that lower left tentacle. So this is going to be another boss for them that they've killed. And at the end of this check, they're going to get another Esper, so let's go ahead and mark those things now. Nani Gray takes down another boss and another check, and we'll see what the reward is here. Meanwhile, Doomgaze showing that elemental ability scaling is on. So using the Magitech command launcher is pretty nuts for Doomgaze. We did get Odin from Esper Mountain, so that is yet another Esper. And I think we know why Nani Gray bought some of those red jackets. Merton was on one of our starting Espers there. Always nice to see that one. Papa Shango here, 56,000 GP for Tizen Thief. So with barter shops, normally it's going to be very difficult to buy the Tizen Thief, and it's going to be even worse in this seed because there are no GP rewards from enemies. That's right. So we're not going to get any money from fighting things. We're going to get money from trading things. Remember, enemies do drop random rewards. So we could potentially get some really good things, as unfortunately, we got a couple of deaths in the party over on Nobody War from the poison damage. And Papa Shango buying some Rage Rings to stock up on some Fire Elemental Absorption there for that Merton, perhaps. Nani Gray gonna go pick on the soldiers, and it is Ultros 2! So getting a nice little boss out of this here is a good consolation for Nani Gray. I probably would have went straight to the other Doma Castle, the one in the World of Ruin, to unlock the sword tech, but at least with this case here, we can fight these soldiers, and now that we know that they are a boss, that'll be great. Nobody War gets through that fight and gets the Starlit Esper there, so that's Esper number 4 for them. That's their third check and their second boss. I like that little birdhouse there for the tent. That's actually amazing. I've never noticed that in playing the Living Seeds there. All right, so that's boss number 5 for Nani Gray. So remember, there are up to 8 boss spots potentially in Kefka's Tower, but they have to be ones that are not repeats. And here Nani Gray going up against the blue dragon. So this is an unscaled dragon. We're going to have to see if Nani Gray can get past this. This is going to be quite difficult here, as this might wipe most of his party. Alright, so Nobody War going up against another Ultros 2. So that is at the Tritok Cliff. So we've already seen a couple of repeat bosses already between the Monster in a Box chests and the random encounters and the bosses that we've seen for checks. Nani Gray's party does survive that first AoE water spell. How about this one here? Ooh, Sabin is in trouble. That is the offering there for another reward for Nobody War. So that does count as a check, because even though it was a boss, it is a spot where a dragon could be. That's number 24 down for Papa Shango. Out comes the big blue bubble here for Nani Gray. using that Sortech 5 to absorb not only HP, but also MP in order to cast that. So that's going to be one dragon down there for Nani Gray. Will not count as a boss towards that Kefka unlock, but getting an unscaled dragon down is going to be pretty ridiculous. And unfortunately, Papa Shango has to take the Walk of Shame out of Esper Mountain. Nani Gray getting Esper number 5 there from Doma Siege. So that was third boss, second check for Papa Shango. And here is going to be their Cyan, so that's going to be another check there. So we can see already we're at level 43 for Nani Gray, so that experience multiplier making our characters extremely overpowered in this seed. So now knowing this, perhaps next week somebody will take that XP scaling and maybe they'll alter it from 6 to something else. Or what I am thinking about doing is I will add the split party XP flag. So that this way it makes runners choose, hey, do I want to learn less XP rather, or do I want to maybe split my party up so I only have 3 party members? Level 3 Doom Nobody War comes out with. So one of the interesting flags is that the level lores have been randomized. So level 5 Doom now turns into level 3 Doom. Level 4 Flare might be some other different multiplier. And level 3 Muddle might be some other different multipliers. So that's one of the interesting flags here. Unfortunately, Nobody War, I believe, has already fought Doomgaze. So this will not count as a unique boss. This will be a repeat boss. But he'll be happy to get the Esper in here anyway, because we do need to get, as I mentioned, to 7 characters, 9 Espers, and 16 bosses to unlock Final Kefka. Thank you so much, Good Ways, for the kind words in the chat. This is the Final Fantasy VI randomizer called Worlds Collide, and we got Tritok here at the first spot of Doma Dream. So, can only be harmed by fire and non-elemental things. Merton actually won't work either because it's technically a fire and wind-based attack. Papa Shango, like TLC, is chasing waterfalls. Let's see what the boss is here. Oh, that's right. That's Atma Weapon. Nani Gray already did this, and at the bottom, I believe there was a Celeste, if I remember correctly. Almost doing quad 9s already at the 25-minute mark with just Fire Beam on Tritok. That is pretty nuts. And it goes to show you the power of the levels in Final Fantasy VI Worlds Collide. That's the most powerful stat in the game. Alright, we'll see what the reward is here as we get yet another boss and another check for Nani Gray. Unfortunately, that's an ice shield. However, if we're looking for things to prevent Merton, that is certainly one of them. Alright, Nobody War is going to get another check under their belt, and that is going to be their 5th Esper. Unfortunately, that does not count as another boss because that was a repeat boss. And that's actually his 4th check. Looking at their tracker now. Uh-oh. And caught in the cookie jar here for Nani Gray. Thankfully, it's just a random encounter that we can easily dispatch of. And then Papa Shango is going to get their Celeste down here at the bottom of Barren Falls. And they've just beaten another boss. Let's go ahead and check off some things here for them. As my cat is very interested into what I'm doing here. Alright, so it looks like Nobody War is heading up to the floating continent. Going to try for 2 guaranteed pieces of progression at the floating continent arrive and escape. And then we've got a whole bunch of fights on the way in. So some of these fights, as I mentioned, can be bosses. That's part of the fixed and random battles there in the lower right-hand corner of the settings that you see on the screen. So for Nobody War's sake, hopefully we get some bosses in here that are fairly easy and that are not repeats. Papa Shango deciding to go with Celeste here, even though Celeste is at level 3. So as we mentioned, when you recruit new characters, they are not at the party average level. They are at level 3, and they start with no equipment. And our equipment is based on the standard, original plus 33% random. However, the relics that you can use, there's only 10 characters can use a particular relic. So you might not be able to equip double earrings, let's say. So it makes things a little bit more interesting in that respect. Cyan's Dream number 2 coming up for Nani Gray, and Nobody War is already at level 44. So it's a bit of a shame that none of his characters can use that Atma weapon, because it would already be online for them here. Nani Gray sees Tunnel Armor, and I bet they're going to dispatch this very easily. Because now's about the time when that HP and MP scaling stops to be such a burden when you get higher and higher levels, because the maximum scaling is 53. So that's going to be the highest level of HP that your bosses are going to be. So that's another boss and check down for Nani Gray there. And it looks like Edgar was the reward, so we've got our 7 characters there for Nani Gray. They just have to find 4 more espers, but more importantly, they've got to find 9 more bosses. So we'll see if Nani Gray decides to jump into Kefka's Tower early with having 7 characters to see how many bosses actually are in Kefka's Tower. That's a strategy that I've employed in some of these Living Seed runs. So there's Ragnarok the Esper. So that'll put them at 6. That was Air Force kill from Nobody War on one of the random encounters on the way in. So he'll be happy to see another unique boss. So that's a boss, not a check there. And it is Leader, so this is another unique boss for Nobody War. So he's going to get at least 2 here. And hopefully the next boss will be another unique one. Because remember, Floating Continent, you do have to fight 2 bosses before you get to a save point. Alright, Nani Gray heading into World of Balance. South Figaro here, going to loot some treasure. Maybe looking for some bosses in these Monster Hunter boxes. And here's one! Dada Luma! So that's nicely done there, as Nobody War does pick up their 6th Esper there. Papa Shango going up against the Blue Durgan. And unfortunately, this is not the fight to have Celeste in, because she is going to just die to every single attack that the Blue Dragon is going to throw out. But oh, so does Cyan. Cyan goes down as well. So for Papa Shango, he has to think about whether or not he wants to pick some of his characters up here, because I know both Cyan and Celeste were added to the party late, so they're going to be at lower levels than the rest of his team. This Blue Durgan is not playing around here. That's another boss for Nani Gray, so we'll put them at 8. So they are halfway to the boss unlock. Again, there are 8 potential boss spots in Kefka's Tower. Because the dragons and bosses are mixed together, and everything is random, so things can show up multiple times, and unfortunately, that's a wipe for Papa Shango there. Little triple kill for our Blue Durgan. So now Papa Shango knows, hey, maybe I'll come back to this check a little bit later when my characters have a little bit more levels, because that dragon is not going to get any more difficult than it already is, because dragons are unscaled. And unfortunately, here is another repeat boss for Nobody War with Air Force at the 2nd spot of the Floating Continent. Alright, and it looks like we got Ultras 1 for Papa Shango here. Not quite sure where he is. Is this in Owser's Mansion? Because I don't remember Nobody War seeing this. Oh, there is a juicy Esper, Fenrir, and another juicy Esper with Siren there for Nobody War. So he's going to make his way out here. Oh, that's what it was. It was the random shed fight in right before the Magitech factory. So for those of you that don't know, if you would like a heal, you could fight that fight in the shed in Vector. And if you want to, you can just run away if you can't beat the fight. But if you can beat the fight, you not only get the XP from it, but you get the heal from it. So thank you so much, Jazer, for pointing that out as to where we were. It's a little tough tracking 3 screens at the same time. Uh-oh, level 3 flare coming out from these enemies. Remember, the level lores have been randomized, so we already saw Doomgaze level 3 Doom instead of level 5 Doom. So that means if your party is if your party member is a multiple of 3, which happens a lot more often than a multiple of 5, you'll be in trouble. And we just saw there was level 3 flare instead of level 4 flare. Alright, a couple more grind fights here on the way out of the floating continent. We'll see if Nobody War finally gets their 4th character. I think, though, with these levels in this party, he's pretty much set, and I don't think he's going to substitute any of his crew out at this moment, because remember, our enemies are at level 3. Or rather, our new characters are level 3, and here's a white Durgan. So I wonder if he has that Siren Esper equipped to anybody, because if he does, then he can just go ahead and mute the white dragon and be done with this fight right away. Papa Shango digging in a monster in a box here, and it's the Three Stooges! So yet another boss we haven't seen before. So this will be a really good one for Papa Shango, because he has those 3 elemental beams with Magitech. And he's also got Ultimate and Sword Tech. So that shouldn't be a problem. And that is Nobody War's first dragon down, and that is going to be another check for them. Let's see what the reward is. This can be a character or an Esper here at the end of the floating continent. And the timer is on, so remember, we gotta go, Nobody War. He did unequip Sabin, so he's maybe thinking about taking Sabin out. Unfortunately, this is not a character. That's yet another Esper for him. That's Madeline. And Doom Guy at the Edgar spot also means that this is a... Sorry about that. Had to sneeze there in case you couldn't tell. This will be also an Esper. I'll be back in just 1 second. Alright, my allergies are acting up, and that's because my cat decided that they wanted to hang out with me today. Can you believe it? I am allergic to cats and I have one. Probably not a smart idea. Alright, so Nani Gray is deciding to continue this path, and it makes sense because you need Espers. They already have their 7 characters. And they also need to go fight some more bosses. They only have 8 out of 16. And here Nobody War gets the bad news that his Haydn and the Haydnites fight that he fought earlier is here in the Imperial camp. For those of you just joining us, we are doing this week's run of the Living Seed. So in case you're interested in joining the Living Seed, essentially every week runners get to choose 2 flags, or maybe 1 flag and 1 objective, or maybe 2 objectives that you could alter. And usually you play off of one another with cool different settings and different interactions. So one of the things we have seen here is that we do need to get 16 bosses for Kefka Unlock. However, bosses are repeatable, and they're mixed in with the dragon spots. So you have to get to 16 unique bosses to unlock Final Kefka. but they have to be unique. So some of these can be random. You could find bosses in Monster in a Box chests, that's not a word, chests, and random encounters. So there's a lot of different things, a lot of different ways you can get to those 16 bosses, but beware. There are 8 bosses, or 8 boss slots potentially in Kefka's Tower, but last week's Living Seed that I did, I went into KT Skip with 15 out of 16 bosses done, thinking, hey, I have 4 chances to get a boss that is not a repeat. Unfortunately, I got 2 dragons and 2 repeat bosses, so I wasted my skip and had to walk out of Kefka's Tower, essentially, in order to go find some more bosses. And of course, there were a couple of checks I did, and all of them were either also repeat bosses or dragons. So, really, really fun. And by fun, I mean I wanted to pull my hair out. Naughty Gray did end up picking up Setzer there, so Setzer is really, really nice in this flag set, because he has 2 very fast checks with boss potentials, and he's also got the Culligan in, which is a free reward right there. So it looks like we're going to do Search the Sky spot, because Naughty Gray also needs espers. Papa Shango taking down the first part of the Magitech factory there. And this is number 128 for Naughty Gray, so this will be a unique boss for them as well. Another check, another boss, and another piece of Magicite there for Papa Shango, so he's up to 5. I missed when he got his 4th. But at the levels that our characters are at now, these fights are not going to be any problem. Scaling is capped out at level 53. Or 54, rather, I'm sorry. I've been saying 53 this whole time, and it was 54. Alright, another Flame Shield for Naughty Gray, which is a bit unfortunate, but at least they are now in double digits with unique bosses. And like I mentioned before, chat, that to me is the hardest part of this Living Seed, is to get my 16 unique bosses to unlock Kefka. Alright, so Nobody War is going to bring lowly Cyan on board, and unfortunately Cyan can't use the Atma weapon either! Oh, you hate to see it happen. Yep, so does Cyan go back into the drawing board here? I think he wants someone to be able to use that Atma weapon that he's got, because the rest of his party is in the 60s in terms of levels. Alright, Naughty Gray heading up to World of Ruin, Narsh. We already saw this from Nobody War. This is going to be 3 bosses, I think, up here? Oh no, I'm sorry, 2, because there's Doomgaze twice up here. And then a couple of espers. So one of the flags here, as this is Ultros 2, so I'm not quite sure if this is a unique boss or not for Naughty Gray. It's hard to keep track of 3 different runners who have taken 3 different routes to see if they have unique bosses or not. Thankfully, I have their trackers up, so I don't have to worry about that. Alright, so unfortunately that's not a unique boss for Naughty Gray. That is an offering, though. And for Papa Shango, that is also not a unique boss, but it is another check. Blue Dragon here for Nobody War at Doma Siege. Unfortunately, this means Cyan is basically going to die to any attack because the dragons are not scaled. And here comes Doomgaze, and remember, the level lures have been randomized, so we have level 3 Doom in this seed. Oh no! There goes everybody. There goes the neighborhood. F's in the chat for Naughty Gray. If you thought Doomgaze was bad before, wait until you get a seed with a level 2 Doom. That's evil. Alright, so we're going to take a grind fight here to get off of level 3. And Nobody War does defeat their second dragon, so he's going to be the first person with an imp set. Although I'm not sure he's gonna need to use it. Maybe that cyan will be his imp jumper. Alright, so Nani Gray trying to get off of level multiple of 3 here. Meanwhile, Papa Shango is just burning the whole place down at the Magitech factory car ride. Nobody War is going to show us what's at the Phantom train. This will be new information for us here. And that is a Doom guy, so this is... Oh, it's an Ice Shield. So now, does Nobody War go through this knowing that it's a dead check? The problem is, you might get a unique boss at the end of this, so he's going to reset out of it, though. There are way shorter checks for him to do at this point than that one, and without having an actual reward, I think that that's a good idea. And he's going to do a little walk, get his miles on. his little exercise watch there. It's going to tell him, hey, you need to walk a little bit. So this will be his Celeste at the bottom of Barren Falls here. So that'll open up the seat a bit more for them. And unfortunately, we got number 24 on the minecart ride. A little French vanilla action here. And this is another repeat boss. And Celeste... Oh boy. Celeste is muddled, and she has Sword Tech unlocked. This could be disastrous. Nani Gray there taking out Doomgaze, getting another Esper. So they will be at their 9 Espers and 7 characters, but they will only be at 11 bosses at the end of this trip here at the World of Ruin Narsh. So they have a decision to make. Do they go into Kefka's Tower and see how many unique bosses are in there and then try for skip later? Decisions, peeps. What do we think, chat? What would you do if you were in Nani Gray's situation here? Alright, so that's another boss down for Nobody War, and this is going to be Celeste that we already know. So let's mark it off for them now. Alright, so here is the other Atma at the end of the Magitech Factor. So thankfully this will be a unique boss. I did not see what the reward was for Papa Shango. Oh, it looks like it was Mog. So Mog is interesting and opens up some more things. Unfortunately, Merton is not going to work for Atma, because Atma will absorb wind element, and Merton is both a fire and wind-based attack. So thankfully, Nobody War has finally found an Atma weapon user, and that Atma weapon user can also use the offering, because remember, the relics are only equipable by 10 out of the 14 characters. So thankfully, we got the MVP of the 1-2 offering and Atma weapon here. Nani Gray taking a random grind fight to get off of level 3, and I think that that was a good idea if I remember what this boss was. Is going to pull an Esper out of here. And that's Golem. So Papa Shango gets Mog, and another boss and another check there. So 7, 7, and 7 for them. Nani Gray here, getting yet another Doom Gaze. So, level 3 Doom. And thankfully this one misses. That is evil. Tritalk and Yeti Spotter, both Doom Gaze. Alright, so Papa Shango heading up Doma Siege. So this is revenge on that blue dragon that he couldn't beat earlier. Unfortunately, I think this is a dead check for them. So as I mentioned, in case you're interested in doing one of these wild seeds, the Living Seed is a weekly asynchronous race where we start every week with the flags from the previous week, and then each runner can change up to 2 different flags or objectives to kind of make a cool little puzzle piece for the rest of us to enjoy. One other interesting wrinkle I didn't mention, because I don't think anybody did it. If you go to win a Coliseum match, you do get plus 40 speed. However, you also are inflicted with the auto overcast status, which means if you die, you'll turn into a zombie instead. So that is an interesting little wrinkle in that there. We do start with Umaro, so one might gravitate towards the Coliseum, but with that setting, I've found that I don't like to go to the Coliseum because auto overcast is just so much worse than using a Phoenix down. Papa Shango finally killing his second dragon there. I mismarked him from before. So he'll have that imp set. And this is not a character here for Nobody War at Esper Mountain. However, I do believe that this is going to be a unique boss. Nani Gray picking up a cursed ring there. I think we did have Doom on one of our espers. Maybe they did not find that esper. And it looks like they're going to head into Owzer's Mansion looking for some more bosses. So at this point, it's either looking for more bosses or looking for that 9th character for Kefka Tower Skip. Just remember, you still can get Kefka Tower Skip with 9 characters, 12 espers, or 22 checks. I personally would be diving into Kefka's Tower to see how many bosses are already in there. But I could also understand trying to go for Skip as well. Alright, so that's another unique boss for Nobody War. And he's up to 11 espers, so he'll probably get Skip at some point very soon. Papa Shango at Mount Colts finds the Gold Dragon. So this will be the 3rd dragon for them. You do get the Magitech unlock with 4 dragons, and we have Realm using Magitech, so that's something interesting to keep in mind, although I don't think anybody shoots for it on purpose. Because again, you can't predict where the dragons will be. They are mixed in with the bosses, and they're also randomized. And hey, there is another character we haven't seen yet. That is Strago there at Mount Colts. So that opens up some more checks, albeit ones that we probably don't want to do for Papa Shango. Hiding in the Hide Knights here at one of the chests. And hey, we got a not repeat boss, Rosopus and the Piranhas in the random chest at the end of Mount Colts. So okay, this is definitely going to be worth it here. Nani Gray easily dispatching of Hiding in the Hide Knights. Remember, the No Undead property has been removed from bosses in this flag set. So Papa Shango going to get a unique boss here from this kill, which is always nice to see. And that's the end of that. So there's a unique boss for Papa Shango. He's up to 8. Nani Gray getting another check under their belt. Unfortunately, that was a repeat boss, and it was a dead check Atmo weapon. So the Toilet Atma spot and the 2 dragons do count as checks inside of Kefka's Tower. But there are up to 8 unique, or potentially 8 boss spots in the tower. Nani Gray going to the Opera House. This is a really smart play here, because this is a very easy check, and if it's not a boss, and if it's a boss you've already fought before, or a dragon, you just reset out of here. Papa Shango sees Doom Guy at the bottom of Fanatic's Tower, and it's an Esper, so he's going to head up there, and there's potentially 2 different unique bosses in this particular spot, one at the dragon spot, and then one all the way at the top. The problem is, you can only use magic inside of Fanatic's Tower, and here is Another hide in the hide night fight, so this could be an instant reset, but it is a relatively easy just use life 2 on this fight. And it does count as a check, and it will drop a high tier item. Although I'm not sure what high tier items we need at this point with our party levels. And unfortunately for Papa Shango, this is a dragon. Thankfully it's a unique dragon, so he'll get that 4th dragon to have that Magitech unlocked for Realm. But I don't think that's what he was looking for, if I had to guess. Alright, just had to clear out the pipes a little bit there. So didn't want to subject you all to my nose blowing on stream. Nani Gray is going to head through the Magitech factory, so there are lots of different chances for bosses here. And they will get Mog if they decide to go all the way through to the end of the Magitech factory. So that'll be their skip with 9 characters. However, they may not yet be at that boss threshold. Alright, so that is dragon number 4 for Papa Shango and an Atma weapon there as the reward. Now Celeste is at level 24, so we're getting Celeste some levels here, finally, for Nobody War. Remember, they have the Atma weapon on Celeste. And that's it. Little 2-hit for Nobody War, and that is going to do it for that boss. So that is going to be their 9th boss kill. And that's going to be Edgar as that reward there. So that is their character in Esper go mode. They just need to defeat enough unique bosses here in order to get their skip. Flame Shield for Papa Shango at the top of Fanatics. Let's see what the boss is here. And it's unfortunately only a dragon for Nani Gray. However, Nobody War did get their skip here. So let's see what Nobody War decides to do. He has to come up with 7 more bosses. So it looks like he's going to do Velt Cave here, which is a shadow check. Oh, did Papa Shango give us a Vanished Doom? I think Papa Shango gave us a Vanished Doom. I saw it out of the corner of my eye. If he did, then that is awesome. Yeah, the repeatable bosses part of this makes for a very interesting strategy, right? Do you go do more checks looking for more bosses? Do you go dig in Monster in a Box chest, or do you go dig in chests? There's a chance of getting them there. You take off the Moogle Charm and grind because there's a chance of getting them there. Do you go to dragon spots? Do you go into Kefka's Tower early and clear it out just to see how many bosses you'll need before you get to the unlock? It allows for different strategies of the game, and it really emphasizes boss checks over free checks. Alright, so that's another unique boss there for Nobody War, getting Dataluma. Nani Gray getting another unique boss there. Unfortunately, that was just a shield, and gonna warp out of here, so we'll not get that Mog at the end of the Magitech factory. Papa Shango is gonna get the Palador Esper there from that check. So they still need 2 more Espers and a bunch more bosses. Nobody War digging in some Monster in a Boxes here, hoping for some to add to his boss count. Unfortunately for him, right, if you take a look, every chest you open has a 17% chance that there's a monster in a box. And of that, 25% of them are bosses. So realistically, that is that's a 4% chance of a monster in a box being a boss. Nani Gray is going to head into Kefka's Tower here. So they do have their character and esper requirement. They will be able to get skip if they do both dragon spots and the toilet atmos spot. The thing is, they're going to need to find 4 unique bosses here in Kefka's Tower to get Kefka Tower unlock, or rather Final Kefka unlock. So you got to do 4 out of 8. Retrofile says 4.25%. Excuse me. I was doing head math and not calculator math. Alright, Papa Shaw go into Cyan's Dream, and we got Tri-Talk here. Nani Gray going to be walking through the tower. So I expect them to take all 4 of these front bosses, and then they have a decision to make. Do they keep going through the tower, or do they use their skip, not having Kefka unlock requirements, and potentially wasting that skip if they can't get to 16 unique bosses by the time they hit Final Kefka? So this is a very interesting risk-reward strategy here. What I did in my seed when I ran this is I split my party up 0 rather, so meat shield, then 2 and 2. And I ran all the way through the tower, and I saw which bosses were where. And obviously I didn't beat the one boss with my meat shield, but I beat all of the other bosses. And then I used my skip to get back to the middle spot. And then I just had to beat the one boss with my full party. So yeah, it's a little bit of extra walking, but you can at least guarantee that you're going to get to 16 bosses before your Kefka unlock. And if you don't get to 16 and you start adding and doing the math, then you got to go do some more checks. Alright, so let's see what the Inferno spot is here. Oh boy! It's a Magi Master. So here's the thing, we have such high levels that this is probably not a problem here. Because remember, the maximum scaling is 54. And right now, Nani Gray is at about 47 when it comes to what his boss scaling is. That's 19 times 2.5. And, oh, Celeste. 4 quad 9s will definitely kill a Magi Master real fast. So that's another unique boss there for Nani Gray. We got some shenanigans going on here from Nobody War. Little rename card action. Love to see it happen. Alright, so here comes a dragon here. And if this is a repeat boss, you could reset back to your save point. It's a Skull Dragon. So since this is a dragon and not an esper, or rather, since this is a dragon and not a boss, we could decide to reset here, because we don't need the levels. But as I mentioned, if you kill 4 unique dragons, you do get the Magitech unlock. Nani Gray is at 2 of them right now, so this will be their 3rd dragon. This does count as a check, so they're going to need that for skip anyway. So they kind of pigeonholed themselves a little bit there, but that's okay, because if you need to go get skip, then that's the way to do it. Nobody More, meanwhile, is parking himself right outside of Kefka's Tower. And he's already got skip, but he's going to go into the entrance here to try and see how many bosses are inside of KT. So he has 10 bosses out of a potential 16. We've already seen that there is a unique boss with Magi Master, and there unfortunately is a dragon at the dragon spot. This Rex Soul here is another unique boss at the Toilet Atmos spot. So this will be good for both Nani Gray and for Nobody War. This will be Papa Shango's skip here with Edgar. And I believe they're going to get a Magicite out of this as well. So let's pick up all the trackers for them. And they are at 10 unique bosses, according to their tracker there. Uh-oh, a rabid wombat comes out. But thankfully, Shadow has so much HP that it doesn't matter. Papa Shango still needs one more shiny stone. And here Nobody War is fighting against the Rex Soul as well. Celeste unfortunately has an offering and Yeti has a Pearl Lance. So this is going to be a really rough fight here. Was that an ultimate counter from Rex Soul? Eek. So enemies have random scaling on. So random ability scaling rather. So they can basically cast any spell whenever they want. But thankfully, we are still at, we're still kicking because of how high our levels are here. Papa Shango buying the Rust Rid there. And thinks better of it. Does he not have any money? Oh, if he's out of money for the Rust Rid, I think that's what happened there. Yeah, and a barter seed, it can be rough because you normally buy things, and as I mentioned earlier, enemies will not drop any GP in this seed. So you got to sell some stuff in order to afford the Rust Rid. Thankfully, enemy drops are shuffled plus random, so we have a lot of just junk in our treasure trove here. Yeah, relic rings, get rid of those. Who needs those? So Nobody War trying the cleave strat in order to have Umaro hit the right thing. Unfortunately, he's hitting for more damage. He's healing for more damage than he's hurting, so that strategy is not going to work for him. It looks like he's going to take a reset. Now that he knows what boss is there, he'll probably send a different, better equipped party to that spot. Alright, now Papa Shango ain't broke anymore. He can afford that Rust Rid. And hey, we got yet another unique boss here with Welk. So this will be unique boss number 15 for Nani Gray. They just need to get one more inside of Kefka's Tower. Unfortunately, Shell is going to have other ideas here. So Papa Shango here, looking for his 9th Esper. And remember, dragons are mixed in with bosses. So this dragon spot here could potentially be one of his unique 16 that he needs to get. Alright, so that's check number 22 for Nani Gray for Skip, and then boss 15. So, chat, are we going to see a unique boss in one of the 4 spots of Upper Kefka's Tower? That is the question that we have to gamble with here. And it looks like Nani is not gambling their Kefka Tower skip on it. They're going to continue walking through the tower normally. Or maybe not. Yes. Meanwhile, Nobody War is going to go ahead with this better equipped party for Rexol. Papa Shango there did kill something so fast I didn't even see it. But it was a unique boss. So that's a unique boss and a unique check. And unfortunately, this is going to be a dead check here. But I think being able to fight a unique boss is probably good enough. It was Ultros. Thank you, Parked Car. I did see that actually out of the corner of my eye. It just didn't register. So that must have been Ultros 3. Because we've seen 2 and we've seen 1. I don't know if we've seen 4 or not. With Chupon. But Papa Shango still needs to get a 9th Esper here, so we'll see where they decide to go. Alright, so that's another check for Nobody War and another boss down. Level 70 realm. Ridiculous. Alright, so what's at the Guardian spot, chat? 748 GP for that Zen Thief. And uh-oh, it's a Dirt Durgan here at the Guardian spot. So that is the question, chat. Do we think that there is one unique boss here in Upper Kefka's Tower? Let me know your prediction in the chat. I'm going to say yes, just because those are incredible odds if it's not the case. So we'll see what happens, though. Alright, we got a 1 in 3 chance now. Well, technically not, because of other maths, but... Okay, Ifrit and Shiva, I believe we haven't seen these before. So this will complete Nani Gray's Go mode for Final Kefka. Papa Shango is going to get at least one unique boss up here, and we'll get their last Esper for Go mode. Alright, so that's Welk for Nobody War. And that is... Oh no, we did see Ifrit and Shiva already. Oh my. Okay. Not a unique boss for Nani Gray. Yeah, Sortech 7 doing quad 9s every time. That's what happens when you're level 74. Yeah, so given that, I think next week... So, one of the interesting things about the Living Seed is you get to play the Seed. And there you see what happens if you don't have Final Kefka unlocked and you try and hit the switches. You get bounced off and you get laughed at. So, next week, one of the things that someone like myself might do to balance that out is to say, hey, your XP is split amongst your alive party members. So this way it makes it more interesting, where you won't gain so many levels, or you have to make a decision about whether you want to use a reduced party or not. And unfortunately, Papa Shango sees that Doomgaze with level 3 Doom takes out 3/4 of his party. Magimaster with the Fallen One. Oh my goodness. And then Dirt Dragon just eating everybody, as it is to do. Ultima Cast from Doomgaze. Oh my goodness. See, this is where the seed starts to get interesting, when you get to maximum scaling. Especially with random ability scaling. Because there's a Quake, and that's a wipe for Nobody War. Oh, man. Magimaster with a Quake. Not a fun thing. Alright. And, oh no. It's Ultros 2. Oh no. Oh no. So thank goodness Nani Gray saved their Kefka Tower skip, because they gotta go out of the tower now and find another boss. Bark up another tree. Oh man. So that means that Nobody War is definitely not going to find his requisite number of bosses, because he came into Kefka's Tower with even less than the other two. Or rather, even less than Nani Gray. That, however, is going to be Esper Go mode there for Papa Shango. And 20 checks, 13 unique bosses. So, I think there were 2 bosses inside of Kefka's Tower that were unique. Am I right, chat? Oh no, there was 3. Because there was Magimaster, there was Welk, and there was Rexel. So there's 3 unique bosses in Kefka's Tower. So Papa Shango, if he does the bosses at the bottom, will be in Go mode. And given that he's at 20 checks, I think he'll probably do at least 2 of them. And here comes an Ultima out from Magimaster. That's another reset for Nobody War. Alright, Nani Gray deciding to get out of Kefka's tower. Alright, let's see where Nani decides to go here. Alright, it looks like they're coming back into the cave on the Veldt. Nobody War is shuffling around the party again to take out that Magimaster. Papa Shango is parked. Where is this? Oh, this is Thamasa. So remember, they're one of the only people that have Strago. Alright, so Nani Gray does see it's a dead check here at Veldt Cave, but needs a boss, so is going to decide to do it. Ice Dragon. So that's a reset here for Nani Gray. Still looking for a unique boss. And here we have Nobody War with his full party against Magimaster. This should be fine. Alright, ooh, Phantom Train is a bit of a long check here. But there is a boss at the end, so we'll see if Nani Gray decides to go there or not. Meanwhile, Nobody War fighting this Magimaster. Yeah, so Cyclonic followed by Ultima is I think how he died last time, which is ridiculous, as Bosch Nasty points out in the chat here. Yeah, so let's take a look at Nani Gray's tracker. They have Opera House. They've got Mount Zozo. They've got all of Setzer's checks. Nope, just Daryl's Tomb, rather. And Mount Cults. So those are the checks that Nani Gray has to go and get a unique boss. Now, Nobody War reset out of the Phantom Train, so we don't actually know what the reward is here. We have no, rather, if what the boss is here. Ew, level magics. Let's get out of here. Or we're just going to fight them. Nobody War pulls on a chest here. And does get a pretty decent fight that's worth some good XP. However, we're already level 70, right? Something crazy like that. Something wild like that. So it really doesn't matter. Did Papa Shango do his skip? Oh, no. If Papa Shango did his skip, he's going to be very disappointed here. Oh, boy. Alright, Nobody War, meanwhile, taking on this dragon spot, and this is the Skull Durgan here. So, even though this is a dragon and not a boss, he does need one more check for skip. So it makes sense that he's going to still do this even though no matter what. Alright, and this is Ultros 4. I don't remember if we've seen this form of Ultros. I know we've seen one. Excuse me, I know we've seen 1, 2, and 3. Papa Shango going with the reset there. All right, there it is. Unlock Final Kefka complete. I saw it, folks. That is boss 16 for Nani Gray. So they're going to head back into Kefka Tower at the skip. And I think they've beaten all the bosses already, or at least most of the bosses. Alright, it looks like Nobody War is going to continue walking through the tower here. So like I mentioned, this is something that I tend to do when I know that there's a boss requirement for unlocking Final Kefka, or a dragon requirement for unlocking Final Kefka, and the bosses and dragons are mixed in with one another and are possible repeats. Is I go into Kefka's Tower as early as I possibly can, and I just basically see, alright, well, I count backwards. How many unique things did I find in here? And make sure I count backwards from that. Meanwhile, Nani Gray using their skip is right on the switches once again. And they, I think, have one more boss to kill, if I'm not mistaken. Oh no, I'm sorry. They did kill all the bosses already. So they are ready for Final Kefka. They just have to get up to the right switches. I don't know if Papa Shango saw hiding in the Hide Knights before, but that is another kill for them. Let's see. Based on his tracker, that was his 21st check, but not a unique boss there. Alright, so Papa Shango going into the entrance now this time. And Nani Gray is going to take on this last Ultros. And then they will be at Final Kefka Unlock. Or rather, they'll be able to get on the switches with all three of their parties. Alright, Nobody War doing the upper half of Kefka's Tower now. Is going to be very disappointed when they find that their boss count is still going to be 12 after all this. It's time to rearrange some espers there. We do have Phantom, Golem, Fenrir, Siren, I think, on some of our characters. So we're pretty well decked out. But honestly, at anything over level 45, you should be good. And we're level 75 almost, which is insane. Yeah, so Papa Shango was going for the Vanished Doom strat there. And unfortunately, Reflect, I think, got cast. But it doesn't matter, because Rexol is down fairly easily there. And that'll be his 22 check skip. Nani Gray stepping on the Kefka Tower, or the Final Kefka switches, rather. This fight should not last very long. This should be 7 minutes tops for this Final Kefka fight. Do we have a prediction, chat? I know we like to do that around here sometimes. I'm going to say 653. With the amount of levels and firepower we have. Alright, Papa Shango going to clear out the rest of their half of the tower. Alright, tier 1, let's go ahead and instant death this arm. Don't really even need to change rows. But it's just a force of habit at this point, I think, for our runners. Alright, so that's another unique boss there for Nobody War. Papa Shango is on 15 right now. So I sincerely hope he does not do this skip, because he's going to be sorely disappointed. But it looks like that's exactly what he's going to do. Nobody War, seeing that it's a dragon, immediately resets. Oh, I didn't take note of what the start time was. I think it was 1:20:40. Darn. I screwed up. My bad, chat. Let's see if I can I do this? Can I figure this out? I'm gonna figure this out real fast. Let's see if I can do it by watching the VOD that's currently in progress. Let's see. Alright, taking a look at the VOD, it looks like we start at 1:21:10. So that's the start time here. Nobody War warping out here and gonna go bark up some other trees to find some more unique bosses to kill. Meanwhile, Nani Gray is on tier number 2. And we're gonna use that Quadra Slice for 4 sets of quad 9 damage. Insane. And there's Tiger dead. Tools has already been instant deathed. Maybe Nani Gray did not find a Esper with mute on it. Looks like Nobody War is heading through the Magitech factory. This is a really good idea if you're missing out on bosses. There are up to 4 spots in the Magitech factory itself, and remember, you can have bosses in the fixed encounters on the minecart ride here too. Yeah, so Sword Tech 8 is instant death. It doesn't actually do damage. So that's why Sword Tech 7 does more damage, technically, quote-unquote damage, than Sword Tech 8. And out comes the 10 hits here. I have been... Sorry, Nobody War has more bosses than I have let him on for. I realize I've been doing the wrong person's counter. So for Papa Shango there, that was his 16th unique boss at the Ifrit Shiva spot. So that is going to be Kefka unlocked for him. Alright, here comes the W win from Kefka, tier number 3. We do need to kill the lady first, and there goes the lady. Then we need to execute Golem, and then we have 40,000 HP to chew through. Looks like Nobody War is pulling on some Monster in a Box chests, hoping to find some monsters in them that will satisfy his Kefka unlock requirements as he's going along in the Magitech factory. So this is a really smart idea. Unfortunately, like we mentioned, 4.25% chance of a Monster in a Box being a boss. Out comes Calmness after that Sword Tech, and that is tier number 3 dead. And that's Papa Shango's final boss down before the switches here at Final Kefka. Alright, so Final Kefka down here for Nani Gray. This shouldn't last very long, especially with Sword Tech doing, yeah, so we're going to do Quick twice. We'll do Sword Tech 7 twice. That'll be GG for Kefka. Alright, so Storm Dragon is the first boss here in Magitech Factory for Nobody War. Dirt Durgan for Papa Shango here. And then here comes the second Sword Tech 7, and that'll be it for Kefka. Alright. 1:27:05 is the official time. So that is a final Kefka time of 5 minutes and 55 seconds, I believe. So get your GGs in chat for Nani Gray, the winner of the race here today. We'll switch on over our audio to Papa Shango. As they are stepping up to Final Kefka now. And we are joined in the booth by Nani Gray. Nani, congratulations on taking on home this Living Seed Showcase victory. GG's to you.
Thank you.
So tell us a little bit about your strategy with this Living Seed, where we've got tons of different things going on, and what sort of helped you from last week running the seed that you put into play running this week's version of the seed.
This time around, with all the extended chance of getting more bosses, and I normally I go after the I still do my usual looting route, and with all the extra XP you get, it's worked out, but I got paranoid this time around, so 38 boxes as opposed to my usual 70.
Yeah, when you get your hand slapped for opening up a chest, you'll tend to open up a little bit less of them, right? So.
Yeah. The other big difference this time, why am I level 70?
Well, that's because the experience was turned up from a ×3 multiplier to a ×6 multiplier.
Yeah.
So maybe that'll be something that we'll have to adjust with next week's seed, because in my practice run, I was about the same. I was really high levels, and I was like, all right, I'm kind of bored now. Can we just get to the end of the seed? Because that's fighting those, trying to find those bosses that are unique and also mixed in can be a bit of a hunt. And if you're already ready to kill the final boss, you're like, okay, this is kind of crazy, guys.
Yeah, I think we've already seen that. Once again, I gambled and lost on Kefka's Tower, having all the rest of the bosses I needed, and I bounced off the switches. So.
Yep, that's always bound to happen in seeds like this. I think last week I was 15 out of 16 and used my skip to get to the upper half of Kefka's Tower. Oof. And I thought to myself, well, there's got to be one unique boss in these 4 spots, right? Question mark, and of course there wasn't. So
yeah,
really
I remember
nice
that.
Strategy of you to save your skip until you got to your 16, and it turns out that you did need to warp out of Kefka's Tower and go bark up another tree somewhere, right?
Mm-hmm. All right.
So, other than the fact that we've got to find our 16 unique bosses, what are some of your favorite settings that we're using in the flag set here that you really like or gravitate towards?
Well, I might be a little biased, but I do like I do enjoy the random ability scaling. Mm-hmm. What that did to Rexel this time, though. Woof.
Yeah, he was not playing. I think Magimaster also was a bit of a problem for Nobody War. He got Cyclonic, which will get his team's HP to fractional damage, and then Ultima immediately afterwards. So
yikes!
Yeah, so there's just nothing you could do there, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, that's a fun one. I think you also introduced the barter setup as well that we would have.
Yeah, my first weekend. Yeah, it's I don't know what it is about the barter flags. It changes things up in an interesting way, I think.
Yeah, I think it definitely emphasizes more shopping than looting. I know it can be really fun and a dopamine hit to pull that nice item out of a chest, but emphasis on shopping really makes things, it makes you route a little bit differently, right? Some towns that normally you would ignore, like Miranda or Thamasa or, World of Balanced Shador or World of Ruin Nikea, all of a sudden you're like, hey, is there something in here I could potentially use, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, any other thoughts, comments on the seed other than nice knowing a lot of the different interesting, weird settings we have on? I saw you use a Life 2 spell or a Phoenix Down on Haydn right away to clear that boss off the table, whereas our other two runners maybe didn't notice that setting because I saw them actually fighting that. So nice heads up play there. Any other thoughts on the seed that you got?
Yeah, you mentioned that, and I just remembered the Vanish Doom. The Vanish Doom. I saw somebody learn Vanish at some point, and at that point when I saw a cursor, that I'm getting that, and then wait a minute, my levels are too dang high. I don't need that.
Yeah, that's a good point. I did see you buy the cursed ring, and I was like, I think we have Doom. So there was an Esper floating around with Doom on it, but there's a lot of different paths through this seed because our runners have completely different sets of characters here. So it's pretty interesting how that happens. So yeah, unfortunately, couldn't take advantage of Vanish Doom early.
Oh well.
But yeah, any other final thoughts? Or plugs for the Living Seed. Maybe are you enjoying running it here? As that is also a GG for Papa Shango. 133.42 is their final time.
Yeah. Yeah, the GG then. Let's see. Alright, the regarding just opinions of the Living Seed in general, I think it gives a sort of chaos-like experience without any of the risk of things like the seed just overstaying its welcome.
Yeah.
Because I've like every chaos seed I've ever rolled, it wound up going up like 3 hours, and I don't usually like my seeds going more than 2. So.
Yeah, and it allows you to... Yeah, I'm sorry, go ahead.
You let's say in this here, it's that it. I wouldn't say it's curated, but it's more controlled chaos. So you get to try out a whole lot of different flag sets in a more. Like I said, I hesitate to say controlled, but that's well.
Yeah, it's you sort of have people playing off of one another, right? Like, if you see some person set one flag, you're like, oh, you know what would make this interesting? What if we did this over here, right? So it kind of allows you to see what kind of symbiosis is not the right word, but you know what I'm saying, like cause and effect you could have between multiple different settings. So. Awesome. Well, congratulations again on your win. Excellent job. And thank you as well for volunteering to be on Restream. Can't have the races without the runners. And we'll certainly hope to see you on the big screen again. Thank you so much. We're also joined by Papa Shango, who just finished up as Nobody War is just getting started. GG's, Papa Shango.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for the GGs. It was fun.
How did you enjoy level 3 Doom from Doomgaze?
Yeah, that level 3 Doom caught me off guard. I was thinking about my levels, so, and then I forgot about the level random magic, and so I was like, oh, I'm fine, and then I wasn't. But luckily I was able to recover. And I had forgotten about my Vanish X Zone, even though I already used it earlier.
Yeah, I was going to say, excellent job. I think you used it on at least 1 or 2 bosses that I saw. I caught, out of the corner of my eye. So, give me a more, holistic approach to Living Seed with sort of these settings. What are the things that you sort of key on the most is going to be the points in the seed that are going to make or break what you decide to do with it?
Well, I'm kind of newer to the random seeds here, so I try and figure out what some of these flags even mean, and then I'm looking for ones that affect scaling, and then as I've been going through this, like the monster in the boxes, scaling going off your party's highest level instead of like a check or something, or your normal character Esper Dragon scaling. so I'm looking for things that affect the scaling and affect my ability to get power, and kind of try and make a plan based on that. Like for where it's currently at, I know there's a lot of monster in the boxes. Now there's a lot of boss monster in the boxes, which those tentacles in the very first room.
Yeah.
Which, although I remembered the second time I fought them, we started with Phantom, so I guess I could have used it and struggled through that fight initially. But anyways, yeah, so you look for stuff like that, and so, I just try and gauge my risk reward versus trying to get myself to a position where I feel like I can handle any sort of random boss encounter that may pop up literally at any moment, and then just try and work my way towards that, and then just kind of step on the gas once we get, ridiculously overpowered like we seem to get in these seeds.
Yeah, this one was a bit of a... We just started the new week with the new experience setting. We cranked it up to be twice as rewarding as before, and it seems we have tipped the favor of levels a little bit too high here. So we'll probably look for some adjustments next week for sure.
Yeah, I think so, because if I didn't realize what that would actually, how quickly and overpowered we would get, so that anyone using a fight command, like I had a second offering, I probably should have put that on really anyone that could use it. Probably even with a Ragnarok, they would have been doing, obscene amount of damage.
Breaking the damage cap,
yeah.
So yeah, any other interesting settings that you have experienced in the Living Seed that you're like, oh, this is kind of cool. I actually really like how this works. Things that you may not have known before.
Yeah, so we're getting a little more barter shops than I'm used to. I know those kind of get their way in there every once in a while, but this being in from the start, really kind of been enjoying the barter seedness. Really makes you think about, how you spend your money and your loot path. The monster in the boxes, especially with the bosses, really make you, earn any loot you find. It's definitely been cool, and I like the various a B dash with the sprint shoes. I hadn't used that before doing the Living Seed, so that kind of makes you want to go out of your way to get that right away. Which, speaking of learning things, I found out that you can't actually go fight the Sealed Cave Ninja without Terra in the group.
That is
I thought I could at least go down there and fight I thought it would be faster than Sid, but I didn't realize you couldn't even enter.
Yeah, unfortunately, that's one of those. All the chests at the Imperial base are locked behind Terra too, right?
Yeah, and then there's just a lot of stuff to, I guess, just keep track of and try to remember week to week. Like another thing I'm realizing I forgot about is the undead bosses. I ran into Haydn like 3 times.
Yeah.
And I could have just hit him with a Revivify and didn't even think about it. But yeah, just all these different options that are out there is just kind of, it's just kind of cool.
Yeah, it allows you to make Worlds Collide a really customizable, interesting game, right? I know that we like playing the randomizer because it's a different experience every time, but even playing with these different settings make them, make it where you can do different strategies than you're normally used to, right? In this one, it's go visit more shops because it's a barter seed kind of thing, right? So...
Yeah, exactly. And then also the something that I'm feeling kind of cool about, although in this one with the boosted XP didn't really matter as much, but the starting party average being turned off so that all your new characters are level 3 really makes you think about wanting to route in spots where you can possibly get more characters faster so you can try and, catch someone up. Now, in this instance, you could add anyone you want and they would have got up pretty quickly, but that's been something that's cool to think about.
Nobody War also just finishing their
in this instance,
140,
you could add anyone you want, they would have got up pretty quickly.
So
but that's been something that's cool to think about. Yeah, GG's Nobody War.
GG's to you, Nobody War. So any other last thoughts, Papa Shango, before I ask Nobody War about his wild ride that he has had?
No, I don't think I have anything more to add except for, I want to thank Taco Mage for putting this on. It's really a fun, mix up to the way things are, and he does a good job of keeping it going and adding some fun to it. So just, I'm glad he did this, and I'm glad I joined in.
Yeah, so thank you also for allowing us to showcase you on stream. Can't have the races without the runners, so appreciate that as well. Nobody War is in the booth with us. What's going on? Or should I say, buongiorno?
Ciao, ciao.
Yeah, so tell us a little bit about your strategy with the living seed here. What things do you tend to look for with this particular set of options?
Last week I kind of just started, like, I dropped right off the airship and took like 2 or 3 grind fights, and like you saw tonight, I was like level 17 after 2 fights.
Yep.
When it's, I think, enemy levels like scale on checks, and then HP scales on party highest. Right. So like you can pretty much beat down any boss if you can grind up enough levels within the first like 5 to 6 minutes. I feel like I kind of took advantage of that last week and it played out well, so I figured I'd do the same thing this week.
Yeah, the bosses will get a little thick, but at least they're not in any danger of...
Yeah, they were hitting for like 20s. That first boss, or even like second or third boss, was barely doing like triple digit damage because I'd only taken like maybe 3 or 4 checks by then.
But that also means inside of Kefka's Tower, those bosses can get a little rude. Like
right. Well, you changed max scaling to 54, and I figured everybody was going to be in their 60s because I was last week, so I wasn't worried about that too much.
Yeah. But it also means that the bosses are going to get way more rude.
Yeah,
and
pretty beefy.
We did see that. We saw Grand Trains from Rexel. We saw Ultimas after Fallen Ones from Magimaster, right? It was some ridiculous stuff.
Dude just casting Donner.
Yeah. So yeah, tell us a little bit more about what are sort of your favorite flags or settings to play around with in the Living Seed, and some settings that kind of fly under the radar for you as things that you enjoy.
I don't know. It's tough. Like the first 2 weeks are kind of tame, and I don't necessarily like those first couple weeks like want to put in anything like extreme. I think the biggest thing I've done so far on this is changed relics to like balanced random 10. Mm-hmm. I was gonna make it 8, but I figured like that flag is such a underlooked or underused flag, like in general with our randomizer. Like balanced random for equipment can be a killer on some seeds. If you roll with Jex and Hefe and roll some chaos seeds, and you get a taste of that a few times. Like I felt like I'll just keep it to the relics. But even still, like Celeste couldn't equip the Genji glove, and it's just one of those things where it really makes you think.
Right, or wait, what do you mean I can't do double earrings on my character, right? Like that's like a de facto standard that everybody takes for granted, and if you can't do that, then that alters what kind of build you want for your character, right?
Yeah.
So.
I think it was Nani that like 3 weeks ago changed it into a barter seed, and I really enjoy that just as a general play style in Worlds Collide.
Yeah, I like barter because it emphasizes shops over looting, and I know we love our loot, right? We love pulling out something fun out of the treasure chests, but sprinkling in some of the different settings here will really show you how powerful the game can be, and it can allow you for wildly different strategies than you're normally used to with your regular standard-ish type of race flags here, right? Like we were seeing people going into Kefka's Tower early, clearing it out, warping back out, saving their skip for much later on. These are things you never normally see.
I wish I would have done that sooner.
Yeah, these are things you never normally see in most.
I think one of the big things that helped this week was what your change is boosting the or was it what Taco did? I forget. Somebody boosted the monster in the box boss percentage up to 25%.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
that really helped with this, with the mixed dragons, and it's basically like the past like 3 weeks have been a boss hunt, and it's rolled high. It like rolled 15 last week. It rolled 16 this week. Like.
Yeah, even still, we still had to struggle to get to 16 bosses, right?
Yeah. I thought about I should have went Magitech like way sooner. Like as soon as I found Celeste, I'm like, oh, I should just dip Magitech, hit some chests. Like I wasn't gonna ride the train, but if I could get like at least 2 bosses out of like the quote unquote like 2 boss spots in there, I would have been happy.
Yeah.
It would have saved me that warp out and having to look for them at the very end.
Yeah, there was a Mog at the end of the Magitech factory. I think Papa Shango found that, so that was, that could have even led to more.
Did anybody do
checks,
Kefka Narsh?
I don't think so.
It was Guardian as the soldier enemies last week. That was pretty fun.
Yeah, no, I did not.
I was thinking about that late. I was gonna run up there and do that, and then just try to but
yeah,
I figured Magitech. There was some chests. It might pay out.
You just gravitate towards a spot where there's more boss spots, also dragon spots too. But then, with the fixed and random battles having 10% bosses, you could also do that. Last week I used my skip when I was at 15. And I'm like, surely, right? There has to be.
I think everybody did.
And I even took the Moogle Charm off for like 5 minutes on each of my 3 different parties, and I'm like, okay, there's no bosses in here. I'm so mad.
Right.
I am upsetty spaghetti, but that's how it goes sometimes. You only learn lessons in Worlds Collide the hard way, right? So.
Oh, definitely.
Any other final thoughts before we let you go, good sir?
No, I just want to give a big shout out to you for hosting us a little bit earlier than we normally do. For my what's the word I'm trying to look for? Convenience.
Yeah.
Since it is nearing 8 p.m. over here in Italia.
Yeah, for sure.
So and then thanks, like Papa was saying, thanks to Taco, for running the Living Seed. It's really a fun experience. Something different from Ultras League, and yeah, I enjoy it a lot.
Yeah, I really enjoy playing with weird and fun, quirky flag sets. Not difficult ones per se, but just ones where you have to pick a different strategy than normal, right? This might have been a little too easy with how many levels we got, but we'll probably overcorrect next week.
Yeah. I boosted XP scaling to 6 this week.
Yeah, so maybe we'll do something like, hey, let's do split party XP, so that this way it goes way down. Or we start with only 2 characters instead of 4, right? Because that was the thing you were struggling with, was I want to get rid of I want to get rid of Sabin because he's not really doing much. But
yeah, I wasn't going to use GP Rain.
Yeah,
I would no way.
All right, sounds good. Thank you again for volunteering to be on Restream. Can't have the races without the runners, and thanks for suggesting this particular time. I, for sure, enjoyed it, and hopefully some viewers that normally cannot catch a stream live were able to catch us live. If you are watching this on YouTube, hello from the past. And yeah, that'll do it for us. Thank you again to Taco Mage for organizing the Living Seed asynchronous race, as you see on here. It can get a little bit crazy, but also it's a lot of bit fun. So join us in Discord and join the asynchronous race. You can do this race on your own time. It doesn't have to be raced at a specific time. You do it on your own time throughout the week, and then by the end of the week, the room will close and a new one will open up where you can choose up to 2 flags, or 1 flag and 1 objective, or maybe even 2 objectives that you could alter or add, and it'll be a lot of fun trying to keep of all the different things from week to week. So thank you again so much to the runners for volunteering to be on Restream as well, and we'll see everybody later. Peace out now.